Chào các bạn đã quay trở lại với kênh YouTube Hieu Design. Subscribe.
Right, welcome. In today's video, we're gonna take a look at how we can create this 3D animation transformation sequence, straight in After Effects. But yeah, let's begin. We're gonna create a new composition. The most important here, I'm gonna make sure the frame rate is 24 because that's gonna give us that dramatic television, old school sort of movement. It's not too fast, but it's also not too slow either. So yeah, let's make sure it's 24. It's gonna be perfect. Hit OK. Disregard whatever just happened. That was my old setup. Okay, we're just gonna go ahead and start out with the basic background layer. I'm gonna hit new solid, call it BG. Over here, hit OK. And then in order to get that sort of retro noir film feeling, I'm gonna put in a little bit of a gradient. I'm gonna hit effect and presets, wait for it to load over here. And then I'm gonna type in gradient. Navigate to the gradient ramp over here, click that and drag to the background layer. And now we're gonna get a gradient setup of 2 colors. I'm gonna make sure this color over here is whatever the saturation, the value of the black that we just selected. So maybe 1 2 1 2 1 2 is fine. And over here, I'm gonna drop this. I'm gonna drop this intensity of the white down a little, maybe just like a grayish, somewhere like that. Just gonna drag it over here to this side, and I'm gonna take this handle over here of the black color and drag it somewhere around here. You can also drag this handle of the white color out. The further you draw it out, the softer this sort of transition from the black to the white is gonna get. So right here is good. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna make sure to lock this layer in so we don't, accidentally click on that layer and move it somewhere else we don't want. Now we're gonna move on to creating our first text layer. So we're gonna head over to layer, new text, and type in the first word in our setup, which is stop. And then I'm gonna click on this layer over here, hit Y, or just navigate to the pan behind tool over here. While holding control, move this anchor point to the middle of the letter over here, as well as making sure in the paragraph section over here, the text is already centered into the setup. I'm going to use the align tool over here to get the word in the middle of the comp, and then you can select the different various font that you're going to use. So for the sake of this example, I'm just gonna go with whatever I had, which is the Larset, I think extra bold. There we go. What I'm gonna do now is turn on the 3D options for the type layer, and then make sure that the 3D renderer options for you is gonna be Cinema 4D. Navigate to this point of the layer. I'm gonna drop it down to the geometry options, and for the extrusion depth over here, I'm gonna try something like maybe 300, right, like that, and it's gonna extrude the type out in Z depth by 300 pixels. And then what I'm gonna try and do is get this anchor point into the middle of the text. So how I'm gonna do that is over here in the active camera, I'm gonna switch that to the top view. Take the pan behind tool again and then drag it by half of what I just extruded the shape out. 300 pixel divided by 2, which is 150. So that's how you can make sure the anchor point is in the dead center of the 3D object. And now I'm gonna switch back to the active camera. I'm gonna try and finish up this 3D setup in the comp a little bit by creating a new light source. I'm gonna make sure to use the point light over here. Color can be full white, and intensity I'm gonna look on that later. Make sure the cast shadow option is on and hit OK. And now we're gonna see that the 3D setup has adopted that new light. So I'm gonna drag this light closer to where our sort of white to black gradient is to justify that background a little bit, and drag this light towards us a little bit in Z space like that. Maybe hit T and then drop down the intensity a little bit. So right now we can actually see out the front and the sides of our 3D object a little bit more. Right, so in order to finish our 3D setup, I'm gonna go to layer, hit new, and create a new camera. I'm just gonna go with a basic 50mm lens over here, hit OK, and I'm gonna drop down the position by hit P and drag it all the way out into the space like that, while at the same time I'm gonna drop down the camera options over here and zoom all the way in until until our 3D objects sort of cover the composition in the same way as it did before. In order to demonstrate a little bit why I just did what I did, I'm gonna drop down the stop object over here, hit R, and if I rotate our object in the y-axis like this, turn down the zoom a little bit, and then drag the camera in until the 3D objects sort of cover the composition in the same fashion, you're gonna see that there's a more drastic distinction between what is nearer to the camera versus what is not. On a flat observation like this, there's like a more drastic descent and ascent of the object over here versus what we just did before, which is zooming all the way into the object while also dragging the camera out into the space like this. As you can see, the part that is closer to the camera is now there's a lesser distinction. We still contain all of the extrusion information of the 3D object. If you want to know more about this, I'll suggest hitting this card above right here to know more about the dolly zoom technique. The Y rotation, I'm gonna drag it to maybe 50 degrees over here. That's nice. And for the X rotation, gonna bring it up to minus 14 degrees over here. That's nice. Just gonna drag this out. This light over here, I want its purpose to be sort of to illuminate the front side of the text. Hit the light intensity, bring it up a little bit more like that, and Control D to duplicate that light. Bring it out to this side and drag it further into the space. That way we can sort of illuminate the other side of the text. Here I want to get some of that good lighting in, get more of that detail of the backside sort of poking out a little bit more. And in the light options over here, in the fall off option, I'm gonna make sure to put it as smooth. And there we get sort of a nicer transition from the light to dark area. I'm gonna bring this light out even further into the space, so you can see more of the actual front side of the text. Right now, so just based purely out of a design decision, I kind of want to illuminate the sort of the bottom over here of the text as well. So I'm going to click on the light source over here, duplicate it, hitting Control D, drag it down to the underside, and also hit P and bring up the light position and drag it out into the space a little bit like that. Drag it in here, so we just we barely getting some details out in the bottom over here. Hit T and bring down the opacity of it like that. Inside of the 3D text itself, we actually have some option to play with as well. Inside of the geometry options is going to be something that can help us with the beveling of the 3D objects. So bevel style currently is set to none, but I'm going to change it to angular and drag out the bevel depth a little bit, and also make sure the whole bevel depth is 100%, and that's going to give us more sides of the object to actually reflect the light off of, which is really good. I'll drag this down to maybe 2.5. Wonderful. And then inside of the text option over here, we actually get a bunch of options we can also play with as well. If you head over to animate, click on this arrow key over here, and we get various options for the adjustments of the front, the side, and the back, and even the bevel. Maybe I want the front to stand out a little bit more. I'm gonna head over to color, RGB, and I'm gonna switch the color of the front to maybe like a full white like that. And I'm gonna add in a property for the sides to be something less drastic, that sort of metallic gray color ish. There we go. Brilliant. And I'm just gonna make one final adjustment over here. The point light, if I hit P and bring up the position, take the position over here, hit hold shift while dragging it out, and I'm gonna drag it out further away Ooh, this is some really nice edge light over here, but that's unfortunately not what we're after. If we drag it back over here, we're starting to get some shadows coming in. Maybe illuminate a little bit of the back like that. Next, we're going to begin animating this 3D object over here. And as you remember in the example video, the text actually rotates on the y-axis before it switched to another text. So I'm going to drop down the menu over here on the Y rotation option, put a keyframe on that. Our method over here is just gonna make sure that the text rotates so fast that you sort of don't notice the transformation happening between all the text. So I'm gonna make sure it starts out with the left side of the text facing the viewer horizontally. That's gonna put it into -90° over here. Maybe move it down to the first second. Over here, I'm just gonna drag this in and rotate it so that the front side sort of facing us diagonally like that. And from this keyframe out, I'm gonna add in a few more value to this Y rotation over here, maybe 37, moving on to 45 like that. So I'm just gonna continue this rotation a little bit more so that the words got time to present themselves properly like that. At the end of the sequence over here, this is the final keyframe that we're gonna put down. I'm gonna put this at 90° so that the other side of the letter is now facing the audience, making way for the next transformation of the word to come around. At the final keyframe over here, I'm gonna hit Ctrl-Shift-D to cut this layer out. I'm gonna highlight this keyframe over here, take this handle and drop it down. We're in the speed graph, by the way, so dragging this handle down over here, as you can probably observe, the curve is going way up, which means the speed is going up as well. I'm gonna also drag the curve, this handle up, so that it starts out at a much quicker speed. Boom. And then doing the inverse of that in this end over here, take this handle, drag it down so that it matches the handle at the bottom, and then squeeze the speed into the end. Also, this handle over here, I'm gonna try and match it to the speed at the beginning, which is around 300 unit of speed like that, so that we get a smooth acceleration of that rotation action. So if I go over here to the final frame of the transformation and press N like that, if you watch back of this sequence over here, it's gonna look like, there we go. That's actually smooth. It's gonna look like the two sides are the same. And that's the beauty of it. You can take advantage of how the human eye perceives speed. And now what we're gonna do is duplicate this 3D text layer over here, drag it out to wherever the last layer ends. And over here, I'm gonna type in the next word of our sequence, which is stop making. Do the same for the other words as well. So now once we play it back, as you can see, it's an actual hard cut between the words of the sequence, but it looks like the text is making a quick transformation from one word to another. There can be some hiccups inside of these sequences over here, going from the word stop to the word making, which is an exceptionally longer word in the sequence. This part over here where the sort of the details of the word making pokes out can be a little bit off-putting to this illusion that we're trying to achieve. So that's something that we can use the camera to sort of rectify the problem a little bit. I'm gonna head over to the camera, hit P, keyframe the position, and when it has finished transforming into this longer word, I'm gonna drag the camera back into the space so that it looks like the word making is occupying the same amount of real estate as a word stop, so that our eyes are making a smoother transition between the two words. Highlight these two keyframes over here, hit F9. And inside of this graph editor, I'm gonna make sure they go as smoothly as possible. Maybe a sharper speed curve going between the two, like that. And now at the end of the transformation from the word making to the word that, I'm gonna hit the keyframe on the position and return the original position of the camera. So I'm gonna highlight this keyframe at the beginning over here, hit Ctrl-C, and over here after the word that has finished dissolving over here, Ctrl-V to paste that original position of the camera back in. jump into the graph editor, make sure everything is going smoothly like that. Right now I think the camera is coming in way too soon, so I'm gonna drag this keyframe in a little bit. Yeah, this one is also maybe the camera is making a way too early move over here, and drag the second position in like that. So, you know, we're trying to make sure that during that transformation our eyes are still perceiving the words in the same weight as each other. I love how all the details of the word big over here is reflecting in the light. But the E, I think the E over here pretty much takes a cake. You know, if you want to do like a geometric design, this is like the holy grail. And yeah, you know, if there's any final touches, I would go for a new adjustment layer and a bit of like a noir classic grain. So I'm going to type in add grain, viewing mode, go from preview to final output. I'm gonna switch the preview to 4 over here so we can get a little bit more details on that. Drag the intensity to 1.5 and drag the size down to get that sort of you know, glitchy classic noir scene. To make sure this one is fully black and white, I'm gonna go to the color option over here and go full monochromatic. Very nice. And I think just gonna drop the intensity down a little bit more. But should also drag the size down. Or, you know, you can go to all the presets over here, poke around with all the presets of the grains of the camera. I think the purple-ish grain over here is not bad. It's actually adding to the atmosphere of the scene quite a lot. Yeah, that's really good. And, you know, if you try to pair this with audio, you know, the original audio was stop making that big face. And the word making and the word that actually takes a lot less time. So in that, and you know, in those occasions, you know, I think I just drag these keyframes in, make sure they have less of a gap between each other, and also drag this sides in as well. Like that, but still, you know, the same principles applies. And yeah, there we have it. Well, once you render it out, this is gonna be what our finished product look like. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this quick tutorial. This was pretty fun to make, and yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.